These 8 advanced English words will sharpen your fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score. And you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. 40 days out from port and weeks overdue, the crew of the Marianne had stopped believing they would ever see land again. The water casks were nearly dry, the food was nearly gone, and the captain was steering them deeper into an empty ocean that appeared on no map at all. By nightfall, half the crew would be ready to throw him overboard. It should have been a simple voyage, 6 weeks of open sea with a hold full of cargo. But a monstrous storm had seized the Marianne and flung her far to the south, into waters her maps did not cover. Now the provisions were almost spent. The last of the provisions, a few barrels of hard biscuit and stale water, would not last another week, and every man aboard knew it. Old Captain Reyes refused to turn back. Day after day he stood at the helm and navigated by hand, holding a hard course due west into nothing. The crew watched him chart their position each noon, marking a tiny cross on a sea his maps left blank. He would not explain himself. He simply navigated them on, mile after mile, toward an empty horizon. The men began to whisper. Reyes had lost his mind, they said. He would drown them all chasing a coastline that existed only inside his head. By the 40th day, the whispers had hardened into something darker. The word mutiny passed from hammock to hammock in the dark. Led by a hard-eyed sailor named Coyle, half the crew were ready to seize the ship, a mutiny that would cost the captain his life. They were sailing through entirely uncharted water now. No island, no current. No other sail had been seen in 3 long weeks. To the terrified crew, uncharted meant only one thing, that they were lost beyond all hope, and that the old man at the helm was steering them straight to their deaths. Only one man still trusted the captain, Jonah, the youngest hand aboard, barely 16. On the night Coyle came for the captain with a knife and a dozen men behind him, it was Jonah who stepped between them. "Give him 1 more day," the boy begged. "Just 1. Coyle laughed in his face, but something in the boy's certainty made the men hesitate, and the mutiny held its breath for a single night more. At dawn, Captain Reyes finally spoke. He had not been steering blind, he said. He pointed to the things the frightened crew had been too afraid to see, the long, low swell rolling in from the west, a swell that only an unseen coast could shape, the color of the water, greener now than the deep blue of the open sea, and the birds, small land birds, 2 days running, far too weak to be living out here above the deep. "I have been reading the sea," the old man said quietly, "while you were reading your fear." He asked them for 1 more day. He took the wheel himself and forged on, west and still west, driving the Marianne through the gray morning swell. The crew lined the deck in silence, half hoping, half ready to hang him by noon. They forged ahead through hour after hour of empty water, the boy Jonah at the captain's side, watching the western horizon until their eyes burned. And then, a little after midday, Jonah saw it, a smudge of gray on the horizon that did not move, then a green line beneath it, then clearly the dark shape of mountains rising from the sea. Land, exactly where the captain had said it would be, hours before any other man could see it. The crew who had been so certain they were marooned forever on an endless ocean fell to their knees and wept. They were not marooned at all. They had simply been the only ones who could not read the way home. They made landfall by dusk, found fresh water and fruit, and lived. Coyle, who had so nearly led a mutiny, could not meet the captain's eye. But Reyes only clapped the boy Jonah on the shoulder. The lesson of that voyage, the old captain told him, was one no map could ever teach, that the sea will always tell you where the land lies, in the swell, the water, and the birds, if only you are calm enough to read it. Jonah never forgot it. He grew up to be a captain himself, and on every voyage he ever sailed, he taught his own crews to chart their course not only by the map, but by the patient, honest language of the sea. Now, and did you catch all 8? Let's find out. A noun for a long journey, especially by sea or through space. It's the great sea crossing an old sailing ship makes across an ocean. What should have been a simple 6-week one of these went terribly wrong. It should have been a simple what of 6 weeks across the open sea. The word is voyage. The long sea voyage from Europe to Australia took many weeks. A noun, usually plural for supplies of food and drink, for a journey. It's the stores of food a ship or an army carries to survive on. The ships were almost gone, just hard biscuit and stale water left. The what were almost spent, with barely a week of food remaining.
The word is provisions, CFO.
They loaded enough provisions onto the boat to last a month at sea. A verb meaning to find and control the route of a ship, plane, or car. It's what a pilot does, steering by stars, maps, and instruments. Day after day, the captain did this by hand, holding a course due west. The captain stood at the helm and did what? Steered the ship by hand? Due west?
The word is navigate.
Sailors once learned to navigate using only the sun and the stars. A verb meaning to plan and mark out a route or course carefully. It's what an explorer does, mapping a path through unknown land. Each noon, the captain did this, marking the ship's position on a map. He would do what? Mark out their position. Each noon on a sea his maps left blank.
The word is chart.
The crew helped chart a safe course through the dangerous reef. A noun for an open rebellion by sailors or soldiers against their leader. It's when a ship's crew refuses orders and seizes control by force. Led by Coyle, half the crew prepared this against the captain. The word what? A crew's rebellion against the captain, passed in whispers from hammock to hammock.
The word is mutiny.
The harsh captain finally drove his exhausted crew to mutiny. A verb meaning to move forward steadily and powerfully, despite difficulty. It's pushing on hard, the way a climber drives upward against the wind. The captain took the wheel and did this, west and still west, through the swell. He took the wheel and did what? Pushed on powerfully, driving the ship west through the swell.
The word is forge.
Exhausted but determined, the team forged on toward the distant summit. An adjective for a place that has never been mapped or explored. It describes seas or lands so unknown that no map shows them at all. The storm had flung the ship into this kind of water, off every map. They were sailing through entirely what kind of water, never mapped, far off every known map. The word is uncharted. The explorers pushed bravely into uncharted territory beyond the river. An adjective for being trapped and left helpless in a remote place. It describes a castaway abandoned all alone on a deserted island. The crew were sure they were this forever, lost on an endless ocean. The crew were certain they were what? Trapped and stranded, forever on an endless sea? The word is marooned. The sailors were marooned on a tiny island with no way to escape. Quick recap. How many do you still remember?
Voyage. Provisions. Navigate. Prohibited. Chart. Mutiny. Forge.
Uncharted. Marooned. A new English story every day. Subscribe and master advanced words the way your brain actually keeps them. Inside a story you won't forget.